time. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ed Piotrowski with ABC 15. The third time this year we've had to do these Facebook Lives. First it was with Debbie, then the unnamed storm that we thought should have gotten the name Helene, but it didn't. And now we are talking about Helene. So thankful that the brunt of this storm is going to miss us out to the west, but we'll still have some impacts around here. Let's get you started with a look at the alerts right now. And we have tropical storm warnings in effect for the entire state of South Carolina and southwestern North Carolina as well, and that's not unexpected. We figured with wind gust up near 40 to 45 that would be the case, and indeed tropical storm warnings are up right on through the daytime tomorrow, at least the first half of the day. What's remarkable to me are the hurricane warnings, obviously right along the immediate coast, but look at how far inland they extend, almost to Atlanta. Helene will be to Atlanta what Hugo was to Charlotte, because this storm is big, it's powerful, and it's moving fast, so they will likely have hurricane force winds in the city of Atlanta late tonight through tomorrow morning. For us, obviously, we'll have some pretty windy conditions around here as well. Let's see what's happening right now. We have some heavy rain moving through parts of the area, especially from near Marion down to Georgetown. This is all lifting to the north, and on occasion, during the course of the last hour or two, a couple of those storms were rotating, perhaps briefly producing a funnel cloud or even a tornado, but we've had no reports of anything touching down. And at this moment, there are no warnings in effect for our area. We'll keep a close eye on the radar, but I fully expect a lot of this rain to lift northward here over the next several hours, and I'll show you that with Futurecast here in just a moment. But let's concentrate on Helene, just a beast of a hurricane, winds now at 130 miles per hour. That makes it a Category 4 hurricane. We have hurricane hunters zipping through this system constantly now. In fact, my college roommate at this hour is on one of those planes in the center of Hurricane Helene. It'll be interesting to hear his stories of what he's going through in the eye of that system right now. But it is heading to the north and northeast at 23 miles per hour. That's a fast moving hurricane. When it comes ashore, it's going to pile up a tremendous amount of water. Storm surge in excess of 18 feet. I'm 6'1", so imagine the water water being 3 times higher than me. That's what they're going to be dealing with for parts of the Florida Big Bend here as we head through tonight, likely in the next couple of hours or so. I think landfall is likely between 11 p.m. and midnight. Once it does make landfall, it will begin to weaken. Here are the current winds over Florida right now. Winds were gusting up near 70 in St. Petersburg, down to 53 right now in Tampa. Other areas gusting into 30s and 40s. No doubt here the winds will be increasing dramatically over the next couple of hours. Here's the official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. Again, coming ashore as a Category 4 hurricane, likely between 11 p.m. and midnight. Notice it's still a Category 2 over southwestern Georgia. It'll be weakening rapidly, but it's also covering a lot of ground in that amount of time. So still a 45-mile-per-hour non-tropical system by the time it makes it into eastern Tennessee sometime Friday afternoon. So you look at this and think, boy, it's going to pass well to the west of us by hundreds and hundreds of miles. And, you know, normally when a hurricane comes ashore moving to the north and northeast, it's going to come right up the Carolina coast, right? That is not going to be the case with this storm, and that is a guarantee. And here's the reason why. It's what we call the Fujiwara effect. When you have two areas of low pressure that are relatively close together, they have a tendency to pinwheel around one another. So you have this massive upper level low pressure system here. You have Hurricane Helene here. Helene will head northward while this heads southward, and you'll see it in motion here. It pulls Helene to the north, then back to the north and west, and eventually this big upper low will absorb Helene altogether, and then a rainy pattern will set up over parts of the Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley as we head through the upcoming weekend. So we're fortunate for this because it does keep the brunt of the activity out to our west. But Helene is a huge hurricane, and it has impacts many hundreds of miles from the center. This is the cone of uncertainty here. This is the official track. Don't ever be fooled into thinking that all the impacts are within the cone. That is not the case. As you can clearly see, impacts are felt over a 700-mile wide area. That includes all the way back toward Mississippi and Alabama, Florida, and through the Carolinas and parts of the Virginias as well. So let's take a look at the impacts. Let's begin with a look at Futurecast here, and you'll notice at 8 o'clock, bulk of the showers and storms just inland down to Georgetown. The overall trend, though, as we head through this evening will be for this band to move out of the area. So by 11 or 12 o'clock, it looks like it's relatively rain-free across the area, that lull, if you will. That'll likely continue through about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But after that, we start to see the outer bands associated with Helene begin to roll into our area. And any one of these thunderstorms you see here are going to be capable of rotating. The atmosphere is going to be primed for tornadoes. In other words, there's sufficient instability and there's a tremendous amount of spin. So any thunderstorms that do form will have a tendency to actually spin, and they may produce a tornado or two. The threat for a tornado is actually a little bit higher than it normally is, so you need to take this seriously late tonight and again through tomorrow morning. I'll time it out for you in a second. As we head toward 8 o'clock, still a very good chance of some bands of showers and storms rolling through. By the time we get to 10 o'clock, roughly from Lumberton to Myrtle Beach and poised eastward are where we have the best chance of a shower or storm. West of there, things are winding down. Certainly by 11 or 12, that is out of here. And then the rest of the day, things are going to improve very rapidly with even some sunshine, diminishing wind, and hardly a drop of rain as we head through the afternoon. So our biggest concern, quite frankly, is the tornado threat. On a scale of 1 to 5, we have a level 3 threat for tornadoes. The tornado threat will be ramping up later on tonight after midnight and then peaking in the morning before ramping down as we head through lunchtime. The best chance of a tornado is along and east of Interstate 95, but the threat is not zero west of the interstate. This gives you a better idea on timing. Very low threat of any tornadoes right on through midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. But as we head toward 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, notice we ramp up here into the moderate category and we stay elevated with the tornado risk right on through about 10 or 11 o'clock, and then it drops off dramatically. So I'd say from 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. is when we need to be most concerned about the possibility of tornadoes in our area. So do this, have multiple ways to get warnings. Everybody hopefully has a phone. You can download our weather app, go to your app store, WPDE-WX. Once you do that, make sure you turn your locations on and notifications, and if a warning pops up and you live within that warning, you'll be notified. Of course, a lot of you may have weather radios as well. Just make sure they're on and ready to go late tonight into tomorrow morning. Now, in terms of total rainfall, there could be some minor flooding in a few spots, but overall, this is not going to be a huge rain producer compared to previous systems. Roughly 1 to 2 inches of additional rainfall across the area. You might see isolated amounts up near 3 to 4 inches. And if it comes down heavy enough, you might get some temporary flooding in low-lying areas and on some roads as well. But no doubt the worst of the rain is out to the west. The poor folks in the western parts of the Carolinas, especially in the mountains, have had it extremely rough here. Since Wednesday, they've had on and off very heavy rainfall. They're getting an additional 5 to 10 inches associated with Hurricane Helene when it moves up in this general direction later on tonight through tomorrow morning. Already catastrophic flooding for parts of the mountains, and it's only going to get worse. It may be the worst flood in the lives of many people. That's how rare this kind of event actually is. Even up toward Greenville and Greer, we're talking 4 to 6 inches of rain here with the possibility of flooding. And again, lesser amounts as you head eastward. What about the wind? Now in our area, frequent gusts between 30 and 40 miles per hour. We'll see a few gusts probably up near 45. And as usual, in thunderstorms, the wind gusts can be a lot higher than that. So keep that in mind. In the summertime, when a storm rolls through, you can get damaging winds. So we'll keep an eye on that. The wind really gets stronger as you head out to the west here. You get back toward Columbia, but especially up toward Greenville, Greer, Asheville. Over toward Hickory, you may have wind gusts between 50 and 60 miles per hour, and that is damaging wind for sure. As you head closer to the center of circulation as Helene comes ashore, in the red, we could have wind gusts approaching hurricane force, and that may extend up into Atlanta. Of course, we will have hurricane force winds south of there, so central and south Georgia are going to get hit very hard, even though the hurricane is winding down very quickly, but it's moving along this path very, very quickly. So overall, although we'll have some very gusty winds, especially in storms, the risk of any damage from tropical storm force winds is extremely low at this point in time. Isolated power outages are not out of the question. All right, so let's recap it all for you and break it down hour by hour right on through Friday. From now until about midnight, showers likely, especially away from the immediate coast. Winds will gust generally in the 20s everywhere, and there is a very low tornado threat. Now, later on this evening, toward midnight through about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, not much rain, but then scattered showers and storms will be picking up. The winds will start to be gusty as well, perhaps gusting well into the 30s as we head toward daybreak. And the tornado threat will begin to ramp back up as well, being very low at midnight to the point where it's peaking as we head through the morning hours on Friday. So well after midnight, up through 3 or 4 o'clock is when we'll start to see that actually go up. And I think the worst of the weather will be between 6 a.m. and noon on Friday. There will be several bands of very heavy showers and storms, and embedded in those lines or broken bows of showers and storms, you might get a few of those that are rotating that will be capable of producing a tornado. Typically, tropical tornadoes are very fast to form, very fast to wind down, but in between, they can cause damage. So do keep that in mind and have a way to get a warning. Gusts could be higher in storms, but we'll have frequent gusts, 30 to 40, perhaps up to 45, and the tornado threat will be peaking again between, say, 6 and 11, and then goes down. In fact, for the afternoon, rapidly improving conditions, just a few lingering showers early. Wind gusts will eventually tail off to only 15 to 25, and the tornado threat will be gone as we head through the afternoon hours. So it's going to be quite a 24-hour period around here. Really, you think about it, the next 12 to 16 hours, because by the time we get to noon, this system is completely out of our hair. Hopefully you got all the information you need, but as usual, Alex Cordero is with us tonight, meteorologist Alex Cordero, and he's been monitoring the questions that you may have. And so, Alex, do we have any questions that I did not answer?
In terms of ones you did not answer, not many. A lot of these are questions that you kind of answered along your briefing, if you will. But there was one thing that was pretty interesting that a viewer mentioned, and I don't know if you remember this, all right? This is a while back. But this is a very fast storm. A big storm for South Carolina was Hugo, which was also moving fast. How do these compare in terms of movement?
Well, in terms of speed, Hugo is moving at, I believe, at about 28 miles per hour when it roared ashore. And if you heard me at the beginning of this Facebook Live, I compared Helene and Hugo, that for Atlanta, Helene was going to be like the Hugo was for Charlotte. Remember, they had 90-mile-per-hour winds in Charlotte, did a tremendous amount of damage, and there very well could be similar damage done in Atlanta as the core of very rapidly decaying Helene moves right over the city. It wouldn't surprise me to see wind gusts in the 70s in Atlanta late tonight and certainly as we head through early tomorrow morning.
We have some viewers questioning whether or not this could reach that elusive status of 5.
You know, you and I were talking about that, and Alex is a pro and knows his hurricane stuff, and we both agree that it's probably unlikely it'll get to 5. That's 157-mile-per-hour winds. We notice that the pressure, even though it has been lowering, it's kind of leveled off a little bit here in the next hour or so, but it's conceivable. But at this point in time, whether it's a 4 or a low-end 5, it's going to be catastrophic for parts of the coastline of Florida for sure.
And let's see here. Just kind of scrolling through some of these questions.
Oh, by the way, while you're scrolling, and I know you guys know this already, I don't really know anything about the schools. I know some schools are closed, but I can't tell you if additional schools are going to close or be on delays. Always check out WPDE.com because we always have a running list of all the various closings that are ongoing. And I can't help you with your airlines. I don't have a magic, crystal ball here to be able to determine whether or not your flights are going to be canceled. Remember, it may be perfectly okay here in Myrtle Beach, but where's your flight coming from? Where is it headed to? How have the delays been in Charlotte or Atlanta? Guarantee you there's going to be a ton of delays in both of those cities, if not complete cancellations, simply because of the Helene wreaking a lot of havoc on those two cities late tonight and tomorrow morning especially.
All right, so 2 more questions, and these are kind of related. One of them is, obviously, we're talking, this is a local impact video in describing the Grand Strand and the PD, but people are curious about the upstate, the mountains, and so if you could give us a brief summary on that, and also if flooding in the mountains does occur, which likely will happen, is there any threat for maybe river flooding to kind of extend down to our area? Is that something we should worry about like it was with Debbie?
That's a really good question. There's going to be a lot of water coming from the mountains eventually down into our area. And by the way, I'm just getting to the rainfall graphic here, so forgive me for scrolling through all these different maps here, but I wanted to get to this one. But there's a ton of rain that's already fallen this past Wednesday and again today in the mountains. I've seen a lot of video of a lot of flooding here. And again, it's going to get worse later on tonight and tomorrow morning as the big rain shield associated with Helene moves over the area. So areas that are flooding are only going to get worse. And yeah, all that water's got to work its way southward. Question is that, is most of the rain up here and it eventually flows through our river systems and down toward the coast? Is it over the southern Appalachians where it flows through the rivers here and ends up down near Charleston? That's yet to be seen. So we'll just have to watch, wait and see, and check in with the hydrologist at the National Weather Service in Wilmington over the next several days to see what kind of forecast we have. I don't think we'll get to major flooding or anything like that. Because the bulk of that rain's not going to fall over our area, and it will spread out before it ever gets here. But some of that water probably will get here eventually. How high is an open question right now.
To answer a question directly to a viewer, we've had a few viewers talk about some of the warnings that came up earlier today. According to the National Weather Service, we're able to communicate through with them directly. There's no confirmation of any touchdown or tornado in Georgetown County. If something like that happens, of course, we'll let you know on air and online. But as of now, we did have a few warnings, but there are no active confirmations of actual touchdowns in Georgetown County.
And I have a pretty big Facebook following, which I'm very grateful for, but that allows me to get information, ground truth very, very quickly. And a lot of people that I know that are on my Facebook page were in the path of those storms, and none of them have reported to me that they saw a tornado or had any damage. So that's a very good sign that at this point in time, it was radar indicated, and it may not have touched down. If it did, it may have done so in a very unpopulated area, and then it becomes one of those, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it, I don't remember what the phrase is. Something like that. I'm kind of tired now. Did it really happen? Kind of a thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all of the questions at this point. So.
All right, folks, be safe out there. Just remember, I think it's critical to remind you that we are likely going to go under a tornado watch at some point later on tonight into tomorrow morning. That'll be your first indication that, hey, the atmosphere is ripe. Tornadoes are possible. If you get a warning, that's more serious because that means, hey, Doppler radar has indicated a tornado, or we have actual citing that there has been an actual tornado touching down. So just make sure you have a way to get warnings and be prepared for that. The good news is this will be in and out of here quickly. By noon tomorrow, we will improve dramatically. By the way, we'll get new information in from the National Hurricane Center here in the next couple of hours, and we'll be here at 11 o'clock on ABC 15. If you're not in our viewing area, you can stream us at WPDE.com, our 11 o'clock newscast, and we'll have an update from the National Hurricane Center then. Of course, me, Alex, Jenna, and Sydney will all be here overnight through tomorrow morning to keep you updated for as long as we need to. In the meantime, rest well, and we'll see you guys on the 11 o'clock news.